quick.
Yeah, I mean, I did see him a bit. This is it. He played at the back end of season either last year or the year before.
He had a decent year last year in the truncated year that it was for Surrey.
Yeah. Well, we have a change of bowler. I'll give him a jingle in a bit. First ball is the defender back down the track, and it is this man,
Ben.
Ben Stokes.
Yeah, it's Ben Stokes.
Well, indeed it is.
And he's got 70 wickets in his 96 matches. Next ball is pretty full. Kind of turns Shikhar Dhawan around. Outside half of the bat, goes out towards cover, and there's no run.
Yeah, it's a decent batting side that England have got, even without Root, isn't it?
Yeah.
I fancy Billings is coming on well.
I like Sam Billings. I've got to say, I think he's quite useful.
He's got his breakthrough 100. I wonder if he will bat 3 or Stokes.
I think they're going to go Stokes. They're going to give him. He's a World Cup winner, short-ish. Into the hip of Shikhar Dhawan, who just turns it down to deep backward square leg, and they come back for 2. That's good running. He moves on to 29 of 44. Rowett's 23 off 37, 53 for none after 13.3. Current run rate's only 3.93. Don't think that'll bother India that much.
Wickets in hand. One of whom is Rohit Sharma. So I'm sure it won't bother them at all.
No,
but, England. It's been quite an English sort of start, pitch-wise and score-wise, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you do really want to try to get a couple of wickets in the power play. It slows everything down later in the game. A couple of sniffs here and there. I mean, Rohit could have been caught if his elbow hadn't got in the way, which caused him some pain. Short by Ben Stokes, pulled around the corner. It was 2-leg-sidey, and Shikhar Dhawan just helped it around. One bounce over the boundary at a very fine leg, and it's 4 runs.
Now my innings going, great guns, I hit the ball. 4 runs, I hit the ball, and it went for 4 runs.
If he'd have missed it, it'd have been given as a wide.
Well, they haven't hit a 4 for a while, about 3 overs.
Yep.
And but it was filthy.
Yep, it was pretty filthy. I mean,
he was trying to bowl the searing leg side Sam Curran bouncer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't quite have the pace.
Indeed. Worked around the corner. Was it leg bys or a bit of edge onto? But no, it's a leg by. As he tried to work that once again round the leg side, and missed it this time. Shikhar Dhawan, but he'll get a leg by. Sorry, bit of wind.
Oh, I thought, you see, there's always a bit of, when you're on air, Ben, there's always a bit of background hubbub that makes it sound a little bit like you're in a station or something. And I always feel like saying, what are you watching?
Wow.
Have you got your Netflix series going on the back?
Unfortunately, I haven't. That beats the outside edge of Rohit through to the keeper, and there's no run. And that looks like it's going to be Drinks. Drinks already at 14? Why not 14? Why not 15? Make it a nice round number. Bit strange. Have we got any tweets there, Jason?
We have. Just see. Pitched Up Cricket says, I really think that Tom Curran is someone who really needs overs in his legs to be at his best with the ball. His best appears usually come on backs of long runs of games. Barry Goodman says, so they want to be absolutely sure that Tom Curran's shite before they drop him. Stop it, ye Swisserer. She says, my wife also wants Woody in for a bit longer. You kind of would get what you want. And Oxymoronica says, England's attack seems a bit toothless. Slightly worried face.
Yeah, it's a bunch of meaningless ODIs at the back end of a really long series for England. I'm not sure anyone's particularly bothered about them. It's post-World Cup. We've got another 3 years before then. I think they were concentrating on the T20s, which obviously we lost, having had a 2-1 lead, and we lost the last 2. And India played really well in them, which will worry England a little bit. But, T20's a T20. And things change around too quickly. Nessers has just informed us Frank Worthington has died. Former England forward.
Thick and fast on them.
Yeah, they are. Didn't he used to be on He used to do Soccer Saturday, didn't he, years ago? On Sky, I think.
I think he was on Superstars. Then every sportsman
Yeah, every
on the
sportsman
earth was
was
on
on.
Superstars in the 70s.
Exactly. Brian Jacks, of course. I think we interviewed, didn't we? We did interview Brian Jacks a couple of years ago. Something.
I don't know who any of these people are, which is
Really?
why I'm keeping out of it.
You're not across other sports, Cato? You don't follow football at all?
I would say I follow the fortunes of. I mean, that's sort of a vague concept of league tables and you know where people are, but apart from checking the Norwich City score, no.
Well, here's a question for you. How's Iceland cricket doing?
Iceland cricket has completely changed its clothes in a metaphorical sense. In the last few months, they've suddenly gone all professional, business-like. No more sort of politics and ramshackle arguments, and immediately trying to get marijuana on prostitutes the moment they land in a foreign country on tour.
Oh, damn. That's not very... I quite like the sound of that as an international cricket side.
It was exceedingly jolly, but it's gone. They've suddenly had a move towards the corporate.
Oh dear. Is the side the same, or have they?
Oh, the side's the same. I mean, what do you think's actually changed in personnel in Iceland? They haven't, suddenly got a whole influx of cricketers with full COVID vaccinations. It's all the same people. Yes.
Have they got anything lined up? I mean, I presume it's quite tricky for the.
They have two things lined up, both of which are quite fun. The less interesting of the two is a potential of playing in an international tournament in Poland in June. The interesting bit of that isn't actually the Iceland bit.
I think we're back live. We are. Tom Curran is going to continue. He's bowling at Chickadewan. First ball is a dot ball.
There's a European tournament in Poland in June, which Iceland intends to participate in. But the fun thing is that we think that will be the first international appearance by Moldova.
Oh, wow.
Cricket team.
I've watched some of that European cricket, and I have to say, it's fucking pretty poor, most of it. I mean, some of the bowling is
most of it's fairly decent, except the stuff that goes on the highlights is either good or hilariously bad.
Tom Curran is in, just dropped out square on the offside, and there's no run. I mean, I've seen some horrific stuff in that. Not that I see a lot of it,
but most of it is of decent club quality. The second engagement that Iceland have got, which is much more fun later in the year, is the national team will be touring Italy, which will include the first international cricket match for...
Italy.
Can you guess?
Italy, obviously.
Vatican City.
Vatican City.
Iceland, Vatican City is scheduled for October.
Guided by Chickadewan down to third man. There's no run. Didn't the writers played the Vatican City the other
but the last time I looked, in spite of how they speak about themselves, I don't think the authors are an international cricket team.
Well, no, exactly. But I mean, if that bunch of shysters can play the Vatican, then,
Well, hence choosing Vatican City as a side we might actually beat.
Well, how good are Italy? Where are they ranked?
Oh, Italy are the highest ranked of all the amateur European cricket nations.
Oh, okay. That's
so after Netherlands and Denmark as associates, Italy is the next one.
Okay. Down the track comes Rohit, showing some intent, and smashes Tom Curran with that sort of pretty rubbish ball out to cow corner, and he'll get himself 4 runs.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Maybe they've had a little chat at drinks and said, right, it's time to put a little bit of pressure back onto the bowlers, a little bit of intent. And it certainly was in that shot. There's no one out there.
See, if he just bowls a little bit short, Tom Curran, he doesn't have the pace to worry the batsman.
Well, there are plenty of bowlers around the world who don't, as fifth bowlers, it has to be said. That's squared up Rohit a little bit, though. Outside half of the bat goes to point, and there's no run.
He's bowling proper English seamers, isn't he,
Yeah.
Tom Curran? Just dragging his fingers down each side of the ball, to be fair to the pitch here at Pune, he is getting the ball to just seam in and seam away a little bit. It's only when he dropped short that it's a real gimme.
Yeah, and Rohit's not going to miss out on that kind of stuff.
If this were a green seamer at Derby, he'd be all over them.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get our chance when they come back to England this summer. Tom Curran is in once more. Last ball of the over. Oh, dear. Just dropped into the leg side by Rohit Sharma. Calls the single. Tom Curran goes across shoulder barges and then falls over against Shikhar Dhawan. And they get through for the single.
That was borderline assault. Curran was going for the ball and realised that he was never going to get to the ball because Shikhar Dhawan was running straight down the correct line for the batsman, and in the end he sort of pulled the bottom half of his body out of the move and gave him the full charge. That was massive. And we know who the stronger man is because Curran went down like a sack of potatoes.
Exactly, and he's a bigger man. Shikhar Dhawan's not exactly a big man, is he? He's quite slight, and he just to brush him off. Anyway, it ended up being a single, so Rohit will retain the strike as Stokes comes in to bowl the next over. Wide of the off stump, and I think he's gone. Looks like a feather through to the keeper. It is indeed. Rohit's chased the wide one. It's a pretty shit ball, actually. It probably should have gone to the boundary. But Rohit, as normal, just sort of flashed his bat. He doesn't move his feet a lot of that shot. And having got to 28 or 42 and looked like he was about to step on the pedal, would have been a wide as well, to be honest. It's got a big fat edge. It's gone through the butt. That's the easiest of catches. And we have to say goodbye to Rohit.
That was a real steal, though, wasn't it?
It was a real steal.
I mean, it was a bad ball because it swung away from the bat more than Stokes expected it to. And Sharma, his eyes lit up. He thought, this is absolutely here for the full-blooded cut. And he gave it everything. But it was just too wide, like you say, Bear. By the time it reached Sharma, it was outside the wide marker. He just got a little top edge on it through to the keeper. I can't help but feel a bit sorry for Sharma there because England have bowled quite well. And he gets out to an absolute stinker.
Well, yeah, you could say that's give and take, isn't it? And they bowled some good balls that haven't taken wickets. And they had a drop catch off Shikhar Dhawan. It was a tough one. But sometimes shit takes wickets. In fact, we have a T-shirt for that. And you can buy that in our shop at Redbubble. Well, that brings this man to the crease.
The Indian says signals that they'll knock us on her arse. The pitches are prepared without a sign of grass. The score is mounting quickly and they've got a talking lead. We don't mind the challenge, it's a beating we don't need. He lets loose all his shots when the bowlers.
And the first ball is driven quite sweetly by Kohli, but straight at cover. And there ain't no run. And he just didn't move his feet at all, did he? His eyes just lit up, as you said, and he just flashed at it. Which is why I think if someone was asking earlier, we're going to predict England's scores in England. I think we'll win a Test series when we get our revenge in England.
They'll tell you what, there'll be questions asked if we don't.
There will be.
Because we really ought to, shouldn't we?
Well, we should do. That's driven sweetly by Kohli out to the man in the deep. It looks like Moeen Ali's out there. And it'll be a single. I can't see it's going to be too long before the spin twins will be on for 20 overs on the trot or something.
Well, they'll fancy Rashid at Kohli, won't they? I mean, this be fun to watch. He may be a man of indifferent lovability, Virat Kohli, but I think it would be a pretty strong case to say the greatest one-day international batsman we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a class act. I like him for all his grumpiness and all that shit, apart from the fact that obviously he's an Indian and when we're playing them, it's kind of annoying. Aerial for a little bit as Shikhar Dhawan tries to drive that into the offside. Doesn't time it at all, but it's about 10 metres wide of cover. Goes out to the man in the outfield and there'll be a single.
I struggle with him obviously for two reasons. One is that he's just such a nutter when it comes to getting cross. He has no anger management at all on the pitch with his own players or the opposition. I mean, there was that moment in the one-day international where he got so cross, he smashed down the stumps with the ball in his hand and gave away a run. I mean, that's too much if you're going to lose your temper and concede runs as a result.
I like a bit of passion in my players. That is guided by Kohli down the third man and there's no run. I think
you need to be rein it in rather than giving away runs because you're so angry.
Yeah, I know. I see your point, but it's entertainment, isn't it?
The other thing is that he is an unparalleled whinger. Barely a game goes by that he doesn't have something about the game that he says, well, I think we should have a look at this, or we need to change how we do this, or this needs looking at again. And of course, he always follows up with, now I'm not using this as an excuse for why we lost.
Yeah.
But for someone with no excuses, he complains a lot.
Yeah, well. Clipped sweetly by Shikhar Dhawan. It was aerial for a long way, but it bounces wide of the man down at deep square leg and bounces straight over the fence after that for 4 runs. Picked up sweetly off his pads. Really well timed.
He's just getting some rhythm going now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to do anything. That's the beauty of batting with someone like Kohli. It's all almost effortlessly managed. There won't be either of them thinking even remotely, oh, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. They probably don't really even need to talk between overs because, they're cool, they've got it all sorted out. They both know instinctively what they should do from here.
Well, I know, and that was my point about how T20's changed ODIs in the last 3-4 years. I mean, it's really noticeable that after the IPL became really big, that teams suddenly decided, well, actually, we can play the last 20 overs as a T20 as long as we've got wickets in hand. So we can still get to 300, even if we're 120 for 1 after 30 overs. It's like... as long as you've got the wickets in the hutch, you can play
exactly.
that way.
As long as it's for 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to 30 overs, then crack on.
Exactly. Kohli is going to face up to Tom Curran, and he goes right across his stumps, works that very fine down towards fine leg. Who's that down there? It's Sam Curran. They'll get back for 2, and of course he's very quick between the wickets, Kohli. Works the field really well.
It's a supreme touch. You can tell from that shot there because the ball was, appreciably outside off stump in the channel, and he moved his front leg right across, well outside off, and still leg glanced it almost fine enough to beat long leg.
Yeah,
that's the footwork of a man who is in supreme touch.
Tom Curran is in to Kohli. It's outside his off stump, leaves that through to the keeper, and there's no run. I mean, I know. Well, I was going to say Mash thinks that you've not met Mashal, but he's does the Caribbean podcast, and he's a West Indian. Obviously lives here, teaches here, but he gets really upset that the big 3 always seem to be playing the big 3, and Australia don't play anybody, which is weird because they've just decided they're going to play Ireland in Tasmania. But do you think it's a bit too soon, England having back-to-back series against Australia? Against India in 1 year, as that's defended back down the track by Kohli, fielded by Tom Curran. There's no run.
To be that way, though, that they play bilateral series and there's one away and one at home in the space of about a year or so. It's happened with Sri Lanka. It's happened with India. It's happened with West Indies. It's quite a common event at the moment with the current.
I guess with the pandemic it is, and maybe it was preordained, but I mean...
And it was preordained. I mean, this stuff's been on the Future Tours programme for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Pandemic or not, this was always the schedule.
I guess. Tom Curran in, Kohli just defends it into the offside, straight out to cover, no run.
But of course, the Future Tours programme isn't simply written by someone saying, well, let's try and get the fairest and easiest distribution of everyone playing everyone in similar length series, nicely spaced out. That's how you would do it if there were no other influences. But of course there are other influences, chief amongst, which is that if you play among the big 3, then the board can sell the rights for huge sums of money to television companies, and it's the money that they need to run their cricket operation.
Yeah, well, this gets back to the ICC, as that's guided by Kohli down towards third man, and there will be just a single. I mean, this is where the ICC has to come in and has to act in a more efficable manner, although it's not there to do that, as we've discussed.
What it does, its priority is to maximise the incomes. That is the main purpose of the ICC, and the reason why that is the priority of the ICC is, of course, it's run by representatives who have a lot of clout from those 3 boards.
Yes, that's true, but I mean, in order for cricket to thrive, there needs to be better distribution of funds.
Oh, absolutely. And better distribution of games.
Yes, well, that will come for distribution of funds. That's clipped down to Adil Rashid, who comes in off the fine leg boundary. They'll get themselves, Dhawan will get himself a single. He was to 40 or 52. Cody's 5 of 8. India is 75 for 1. 17 overs gone. The run rate is 4.41. And we got tweets.
We have. Martin Lawrence says, a couple of things. An hour and 12 minutes for 14 overs. Is that slightly slow?
Well, it is, but it's not as slow as it has been in the T20s. I mean, those T20 games, some of them were going up 4.5 hours without any pay-TM fucking ad breaks either.
Warren says, good morning all. Grand Theft Auto says, given Topley is taller, quicker and left-handed, I'd really have him in a game over Tom Curran. Actually, I was talking about him over Sam Curran, who has been well and truly worked out after his time in the BBL and the IPL.
I've got to say, I think Sam is a better player than his brother Tom. All round, he's a better bat. He's more, he doesn't have as many variations, but I think he's a better bowler. Well, here it is. 17 overs gone. It's time for England to get into the spin of things, and it's going to be this man.
Adil Rashid on the 45. 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 Adil can turn it both ways. Adil can turn it. Oh. Adil can turn it both ways. Adil can turn it. Adil can turn it both ways. Adil can turn it.
First ball is outside leg stump, and Shikhar Dhawan just guides it down to his fine leg for a single.
So here we go. Best bowler to best batsman.
Yep.
I tell you what, they didn't half do him in the 2020 internationals with that googly.
Who? What? What?
Rashid Kohli, the googly that turned through him.
Oh, yes.
I don't think he read it.
No,
wasn't that he misplayed it? He didn't read it, I don't think.
I mean, he's a class bowler. It is odd that he never gets an IPL contract. That's driven back down the ground and is mistimed by Kohli, straight back to the bowler. There's no run. Yeah, I mean, it was they had Dinesh Karthik on the TV, and I guess they got so many leg spinners in India that getting an overseas one may be a little bit pointless, but if you want the best players, he's got to be one of the best limited overs bowlers around the world. On the back foot, Kohli intimates that he wanted to play on the leg side, but he just poked it back to the bowler, and there's no run.
We've all got chicken pox here.
What?
We've all got the pox.
You all got pox. That's full and worked into the leg side, square. It'll be fielded by Mark Wood there, back on a 45, and he comes around to the square leg. Fred has joined us. He will be coming on, I think, in the next little spell, which will be at 20 overs, 2.2 overs to go, and we'll be having another little change. Shikhar Dhawan is facing up to Adil Rashid. Fifth ball of the over. It's standard leg break, decent length.
Just don't pick it up, son. Dhawan is having a laugh now because he did something very club crickety, which is thoughtfully and kindly stooped to pick up the ball which had just stopped dead onto his bat, to hand it to a fielder, and I think we all know someone who would be appealing for that.
Defended into leg side and there's no run.
Unfortunately, common sense prevailed and no one went absolutely nuts, and Dhawan smiled happily, ironically, at his potential mistake.
Last ball is dot ball, and that's the end of the over. 18 gone. Any more tweets, Jason?
Just Nesta's saying that he's been reminded that on this day in 1983 he went to the Smiths' first London gig at the Rock Garden, which is now the Apple Store.
Yeah.
Remember the Rock Garden?
I remember. What reminds you, Nestle?
Yes, we've just been reminded, he says. By what? By something in the cricket?
Or as, what's his name? He was the lead singer of, I can't even remember his name.
Morrissey. Miserable Morrissey.
Miserable Morrissey.
Yes, he's a grump, isn't he?
He's a grump. He's turned into a kind of right-wing nutter, isn't he? Which is kind of weird considering where he's from. Kohli is going to face up to Tom Curran. He's bowled 4 overs for 15. It's not bad. First ball's a length ball, just worked into the leg side by Kohli. There is no mid-wicket, god damn it. Mid-on goes around fields and there'll be a single. And the score moves on to 78.
Yeah, there should be a mid-wicket, shouldn't there? For when the bowlers are bowling straight, wicket to wicket, haven't got much pace, Kohli get on the front foot or step across his stumps and work it to leg. You'd think you'd want someone. Maybe they're all out on the boundary for when he hits
Drives
that
me
shot.
fucking
I think
insane.
you're preaching to converted to bear about mid-wickets.
Drives me mad how many times they don't have mid-wickets. Everyone on this show knows. But, I mean, I just think the natural angle of that shot, which is played so often in cricket if there's nowhere else to play it, just necessitates a mid-wicket. Other people will say, well, just opens up space somewhere else, which I get, but still. That's my little bugbear. Cut by Shikhar Dhawan out to point, and there's no run.
Well, I try not to get too upset about cricket positions. For the sake of commentary and analysis and giving our dear listeners and tweeters something to think about, great. But I admit when I'm sitting watching for recreation, I never think, why isn't there a mid-wicket? Life's probably a bit too short for that, isn't it? I'm sure you don't, Bear.
Yeah, well, I just watch so much of it. And, it's just something that bugs me a lot. Tom Curran is in close to Shikhar Dhawan, who tries to cut and guide it past Jason Roy, who's at backward point. He can't get it past him. There's no run. He's on 41 not out of 57 deliveries as Shikhar Dhawan. He's played all right. Got dropped by Jason Roy. It's a difficult chance there. Would have been a
It's
four.
just what's required of him, wasn't it, Shikhar Dhawan? It's what they would have wanted him to do, is just anchor, help build the platform. I wouldn't be in the least surprised if Dhawan went on to get a ton here.
No, I wouldn't. And, something like 140 off what ends up being 120 balls or something. It'd be depressing to watch as an English person, but the pitch seems okay. It's interesting. It's a different pitch. They've played so many games at Ahmedabad. They're a bit different bit of green. It's driven up to mid-off, and there is no run.
Yeah, Ahmedabad gradually got better, didn't it, after that third test match? Fourth test was a pretty decent pitch. The T20s were all right, but now we're seeing at Pune just what a... I know there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, about, well, Indian soil, you see, this is pitches in India, this is the soil we have to deal with. But this pitch here at Pune is doing a very good impersonation of a genuinely decent track.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think that was a lot of nonsense, wasn't it? I mean, of course, every English person said the first wicket was a great test wicket. That's cut out to deep cover where Moeen Ali is fielding, and will be just the one run to Shikhar Dhawan because it took its time to deteriorate. And by the end, it was a difficult pitch to play on. But the third
it's kidology, isn't it? I mean, that third test pitch at Ahmedabad, it was almost Trumpian in the "you are not seeing what you're seeing" stuff that was going on. After the first 45 minutes, the ball was exploding off the surface.
Yeah, it was a terrible.
And yet
pitch.
we were told relentlessly, the ball is not exploding off the surface.
No.
You're not seeing what you know you're seeing.
Exactly. That's cut by Kohli. Not particularly well timed, but out to Billings on the deep cover boundary. It'll be another single. 19 overs gone. 80 for 1. Yeah,
But you never see in an IPL match ever the ball exploding off the surface.
No.
So it's not just, this is what pitches are like in India.
No, it was prepared that way, obviously. Jason, tweets.
We've had an answer from Chris TB about two pairs of brothers playing in the same match. It's happened 11 times.
When was the most recent?
4 players in the same game. He hasn't given us that information.
Give us the most recent one. I swear we had this conversation in a game where 2 sets of brothers were playing off against each other. Not that long ago.
Nestler says he was reminded by a friend about the Smiths. Nothing to do with what's happening in Pune. Warren says someone has the pox. Is that what happens when you keep Willie in for too long?
Hey, boom, boom. Rashid's going to start his second over. Went for 2 in his first. First ball is too short, and Kohli might think he missed out a little bit there. He tries to drag it into the leg side. There's a mid-wicket, goddammit. And he fields it, goddammit. No run. Imagine that.
It's the happiest I think I've ever heard you.
Yeah. I'm always happy when there's a mid-wicket. Driven, and I think Adam Rashid did himself there. I think he thought Kohli was going to drive it a little bit squarer than he did, and he drove it straight back down the ground. He wrong-footed himself, went to get the ball out wider, and it went inside him. Didn't particularly time it, Kohli, and mid-on and mid-off are up. They converge, pick it up, and it's a single. 81 for one.
I admit to missing the brothers question. You might have to fire it at me again if we haven't had an answer.
Okay. Oh, now there's going to be an appeal. That's a decent appeal. Maybe outside the line, maybe. I don't know. Full ball by Adil Rashid. Round about leg stump. Tented sweep by Shikhar Dhawan. Might have got a slight under edge. It crashed into the pad after any of that. He may have pitched outside leg.
Very low scores.
One bad shout, but Morgan is not interested in reviewing it. And Rashid comes in again. That one's too close to cut. Skids on a little bit to
जिसके बारे में हम काफी चर्चा
कर रहे हैं आकाश कि पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं
अगर आप रिस्ट और हाथ को करीबी से नहीं देखेंगे तो आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि किस विकल्प का इस्तेमाल करने वाले आदिल रशीद इस तरह उनका पोजीशन था आगे वाला पैर देखिए बैट का डाउन स्विंग देखिए ऐसा लगा कि लेग स्पिन के लिए तैयार थे ऐसा लगा कि कवर की दिशा में खेलना चाह रहे थे लेकिन बॉल जो है अंदर की तरफ आया इसकी वजह से अंदरूनी किनारा लगा
One ball left, and then we're going to have a little change. Next voices you will hear will be Kato, Tony and Fred. Kato is going to be taking over your ball by ball. Last ball of this over, and Kohli just defended out to point and set off immediately, and then there's a single, 83 for one. Kohli's on 10 of 16 for one. Kohli's on 43 of 62. Rashid has gone for 5 minutes, 2 overs. And I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Well, things are going swimmingly India so far, while you wouldn't say for a second that they've dominated. What they've done exquisitely well is build a solid platform for taking off when they get to about 30 overs. 83 for one, just the one wicket to fall so far, and that is the unlucky Rohit Sharma chasing a wide one, very well. Butler, 28 from 42 balls he went for, and that was 64 for one. And the 19 that have been put on since then have been shared between Shikhar Dhawan, 43 not out, and Kohli, 10. Just whiz you through the bowlers. Mark Wood, 24 off his 5, Sam Curran 22 off 6, Tom Curran 18 off 5. Stokes now coming back, 1 for 13 he has from 2, and this is his third over, and it's greeted with a gorgeous Kohli-esque trademark cover drive, piercing extra cover and mid-off for 4. Mr. Jingles has disappeared from his chair for a moment, so we'll have to make your team now.
This game involves an element of financial risk and leadership. Please play responsibly and a great t-shirt, by the way.
Lovely caressing of the ball with the base of the bat pointing towards the outside with a high left elbow. His first boundary goes to 14, India 87 for 1. The next ball he just drops into the offside and stays where he is. Just keep seeing replay after replay of that Kohli shot. Also, another thing about it almost seems harsh to limit Virat Kohli to saying that he has a signature shot to stop so many shots. He hasn't had a go at it this time. This one he just had the pace taken off it. He's everything on
और जब इस पोजीशन में आप आते हैं पैर के साथ और बल्ले के साथ टाइमिंग और प्लेसमेंट हमेशा खूबसूरत होती है क्या शानदार फॉर्म में नजर आ रहे हैं बहुत पहले गेंद से आकाश को कॉन्फिडेंस नजर आ रहा है और क्यों इस तरह का श्रृंखला गया है टी20 का सीरीज थे लेकिन जिस अंदाज के साथ अलग अलग पोजीशन में इन्होंने बल्लेबाजी की एक बार फिर देख लीजिए सर एकदम स्थिर आगे वाला पैर देखिए लॉन्ग स्ट्राइड ट्रांसफर ऑफ वेट और उसके बाद फुल फेस ऑफ द बैट और आखिरी वक्त में थोड़ा कलाई का उपयोग करते हुए बल्ले का मुख थोड़ा खोलते हुए एक्स्ट्रा कवर और बीच में से
Do you sleep a little bit longer when it's these earlier starts?
I like sleeping all the way through ODI.
पता चल जाता है
I've
कोहली
had
फॉर्म
quite
में.
enough sleep today, so I'm refreshed and ready to entertain my audience. So I know tune-in specialists from all over the world.
ये क्लीशे है, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Have you been watching it up to this point, or have you just joined us cricket-wise?
तो सूरज को थोड़ी देर के लिए आप वो बात.
Again, parsimonious line and length from Stokes, and Shikhar just happy to get in behind the ball.
Down, not the ball down to the reflex.
Doesn't need to.
You know, as regards run rate in ODIs, I mean, we had a massive
तो पीछे ढककर रख सकते हैं पर छुपा तो नहीं. वो निकल कर आएगा और सबको चमका देगा.
about 5-6 years ago.
जहाँ काफी चर्चा हो रही है.
Scores of 400 plus.
Of the particular fielder, the individual we're talking about.
With the power play regulations, and they've reined that back somewhat. It's still very much a batsman's game now.
It is. Last ball from Stokes. This time, Dhawan just opens the face and tucks it away fine of gully down to third man, trots the single to retain the strike. And he concludes the 21st over on 44. And India are 89 for 1.
Chris TB says that's it, 11 times with 4 players in all in the same game. I'm not quite sure what that was relating to.
Those are the two. There's the sets of brothers that we were looking for. 11 times when brothers have faced brothers in an international match. And all we've been able to do, I think, is list various pairs of brothers who might have faced off against each other without a definitive answer.
Without ever being sure.
You could probably, if they're in the 90s, you could probably say, well, they must have played against the War brothers.
Yeah, that would be highly likely. A lot of people on Cricket Tracker, Bipul Chowdhury and Abhyav Bhavskar are definitely with us. I'll say hello to a few more people when I get the chance. Probably not during this over, though, because it's Adil Rashid.
We'll give you the chance. A slip in for Rashid to Dhawan, who lunges down the pitch and defends. I thought you were going to jump in there with a few shout-outs to our followers on Cricket.
I can do. It's just Rashid tends to wheel through his overs at it's not quite short, but I will do. Okay, between balls, I will do.
And, well, this is flicked away over leg side. There is a long on. So a good shot from Dhawan, but it just brings him a single, 90 for 1.
Agaraja, Venkashla Joshi and Laxmana have all sent us love hearts, which is very gratefully received.
I'm impressed by that because I called Kohli a bit of a whinger about 2 overs ago, so I'm surprised that...
They may have been before you started to diss their captain.
Now he's looking very much the imperious batsman now. He's taken his helmet off to face Rashid and comes down in the most confident forward defensive you've ever seen. Almost aggressive in defence. He looks ready, doesn't he, Kohli? Slightly short of ball, and Kohli moves to leg, opens his face and cuts backward of square on the offside. Barely any width to cut, but he's deftly placed it and raced back for a couple. 92 for 1.
Red, you do have pan
He's
mail.
opened his face. It's easier to breathe that way.
Good punning early on. It's almost too early in the day for puns. Just cleared his front leg there. He is in form, Kohli. Leg break outside off stump, this time from Rashid, but a good sprawling stop. That extra cover prevents Kohli from taking the quick single. He's starting to look like Viv Richards in his mannerisms, his shadow defence between balls.
No one has the posture, though, the posturing that Viv had. The puffing of the chest,
you need the shoulders, don't you?
In the eye.
Last ball of the over, another leg break outside off, and Kohli goes deep in the crease, hangs his bat outside the off stump and plays it across the line to long on to retain the strike with a single. 18
Fred,
to him.
You do have some fan mail, Fred. It's Diana Patterson. She says, yes, some of us do tune in from the far reaches of the world to listen to you.
Thank you very much.
So there you are. You can bask in the glow of that for a little while.
You need a contrary voice. If everyone on air is agreeing about everything all the time.
Voice? Excuse me.
You've come up from a country.
That's not the contrary voice. That's the mainstream opinion, I think you'll find.
That people tune in order to listen to you?
Absolutely.
I admit I always find it much more interesting when you were on here giving it some air.
Well, that's 2. I think that's carried unanimously. Yeah.
93 for 1 off 22. Here's Stokes again to Coley. Short, and he pulls it through the onside. He's going to get 4 here, forward of square. He just rode the bounce there, and it kind of just sat up to be hit. And Coley moves into the 20s. 97 for 1.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Yeah, just riding the bounce there. Waited for the ball, rolled his hands on it.
It's not spectacularly good bowling the last couple of overs from Stokes, I have to say, albeit he's bowling to a man in form.
Floats one up this time, outside off stump. There to be hit, but Coley just middles it straight to short extra.
Stokes, there's been some mutterings which have grown louder about Stokes' value to England in this white ball team, and I think he's such a big name and a big presence that it would be a big decision to leave him out. But I'm not sure. I don't think I know many people who are convinced that he's in England's best 11 at either of the short formats.
Very wide of the off stump, just tickling the blue wide line here. Coley leaves alone, and the umpire decides that Stokes is legal. I would split it halfway, Fred. Actually, I feel that I could make a fairly decent case in this format, but I'm rather unconvinced when it comes to 2020. And let's face it, an opportunity to give the man a rest from one format wouldn't be unwelcome. He does so much work.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'd quite see it that way, though. People do like to play as much as possible.
No doubt. Now this one jars Coley. It was short, an off-cutter, banged in outside off stump. Didn't seem that quick, but Coley got in a bit of a tangle, and it ended up hitting him on the front hand, jamming it into the bat handle.
I think he was out twice that delivery, because he then shoveled the ball away with his bat and then picked it up. So he's getting through his 9 lives.
So that's twice an Indian batsman has picked the ball up when it was safe, and it's nice to see that some informality in cricket still exists, isn't it?
Do we need an international incident?
We always need an international incident. And another off-cutter beats Coley. Quicker, ducking in. He waited on the back foot to play it to leg, but it hit him just above the knee roll of his back pad. Probably would have gone over the stumps. There was no more than an inquiry for Stokes on this one. In fact, it hit him on the back thigh pad, a little bit higher than the knee roll.
He's such an explosive cricketer, Stokes, that he's the type of player that you want to see in a team, because you know he can pull out big spells with the bat and the ball. But, you know, if you look at the numbers, they're not all that impressive in short form.
Another ball in the corridor, and that concludes the over with 5 dots in a row as Coley defends that last. So a decent over from Stokes. He has 1 for 23 from his 4. And after 23, India are 97 for 1.
I'll have a run at some hellos. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I was just going to follow Fred up on this, because we had a very brief joust about this on Twitter yesterday, which is, you say the figures aren't that glamorous, and I know what you're going to say in response to this, which is to chastise me for being interested in averages. He does average 40 plus in ODIs, and I may be old-fashioned, but I think that still stands for something.
Mm-hmm.
Tony?
Yes, the hellos are Sunil Athparia, Nick Raab, no relation, I suspect, to Dominic. Shaba Shaba, Sudipta Banerjee. That's just even on our own. Okay, if I quickly probably wait until after this ball.
Rashid goes for the leg break, half volley outside off stump, and Dhawan climbs into a slog sweep forward of square, and it goes all the way. Well, I thought there was going to be a jingle there, but that 6, which is Dhawan's first, brings him his half century, which has taken him 68 balls, and there were also 5 fours. And the perfect way to start an over against Rashid. Slip is still in there, and now he tries to sweep again. It's a length ball right in front of the stumps, and he's hit on the front pad. There's a huge appeal, which is answered in the negative by the umpire. I think he was far enough down and this ball was short enough that it's going over the top, and appreciably so, but Morgan doesn't agree, and he's gone for the replay. Fred, talk us through it.
Oh, well, I'd like to see a replay. But in the meanwhile, let's have some tweets whilst we're waiting.
Well, here is the replay, actually. Sorry, old boy.
I think that's missing.
That looks like going down leg
It's a
to
long
me.
way forward, and it looks like it's going down the leg side. But I have been deceived by these before. No hint of an edge. So it's all about the ball tracking.
Yeah, I don't think it is too high. I think I might be wrong on height. I'm fancying your analysis here, Fred. Is it pitched on leg? It's straightened. It's going to hit the top of leg stump. There we go. Umpire's call. Umpire's call for clipping leg. It's the not Fred analysis that proved to be correct on that occasion. Wasn't going over the top, but most of the ball was missing leg stump. So it's that infuriating umpire's call, and Dewan survives.
It depends if you're the bowling side or not. And who...
Oh, no. I mean it from a completely objective perspective. I'm like Coley. I am sick of umpire's call, however anyone is advantaged or disadvantaged by it. So Rashid is in again. This time he bowls Fura on the off stump. Dewan makes room and plays a ball down to third man right off the stumps for a single.
You had this discussion about the soft signal in one of the T20s. There was a catch which engendered a lot of...
Oh, it was Milan's catch, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't actually watching it, but I was listening to it as I was driving around.
Takoni gets a leading edge to backward point. Survives. There isn't a run.
And somebody made the point, I think it was you, Kato, that the umpire's soft signal from sort of possibly 80 yards away and not very well sighted overrides the bloke looking at 15 replays with multiple camera angles.
This one is drilled back down the ground by Kohli. Rashid couldn't get down to it quickly enough as it raced past him, and Kohli has absolutely smacked that straight for four. And I know why Bear is half smiling as he plays that, because we've alighted upon a new verb for that shot. Last ball of the over, and Kohli goes back in his crease, opens himself up and just guides it down to short fine leg for a single. He wants to keep the strike, and he does. 24 gone, 109 for one. Kohli on 27 and Dewan on 52.
Right, quick tracker roll of honour. Sanjay Hora, Animash Pal, Mambula, RDJ Antar, Rinkutak, Hardik Kanpara, Blacking Meta Shah, Piaji Reddy, Shadi and Rabadi, MD Tutul Thakur, Balabala, Gidara Chahan and Manoj Bis are all with us. So warm welcome to all of you. Jersey Oaks told us he's had to go out shopping, so we'll be keen to know what he's come back with.
Oh, why has he done that?
And Warren has said, might be a leading question, what does Kohli do with his helmet between overs?
He just pops it behind the wicketkeeper between his legs, doesn't he?
I wondered where you were going with that.
Well, it wasn't me, that was Warren. No, I'm just the messenger, Fred. Apparently he goes behind the wicketkeeper with his helmet.
He tucks it in.
It's a change in bowling here. It's going to be double spin, so Kohli doesn't need to do anything with his helmet anymore because it's this man.
Our bed shouldn't touch. Move over, AMLO. I like it too much. Move over, AMLO. You're one hairy dish. I love unconditionally. It's Moeen Ali.
Whose first ball to Kohli is a half volley and just drilled straight back at Ali, who fields it. And then the second ball, a little bit of width for Kohli to work with, and looks a bit frustrated that he didn't bring off that cut expertly well. Not much timing as he takes a single out to deep extra cover.
That's true professional commentary there from Kato. The gap between the balls, not giving the impression that he was 12 seconds late on the first delivery.
I didn't know if I was allowed to talk over the jingle.
Can.
Straightening ball from Ali around the wicket to the left-handed Dewan, who just tickles it down the leg side, and there is a misfield from Rashid at short fine, and Dewan spotted that very quickly as he made the non-striker's end and called his captain through for an unwarranted second.
Yeah, it's a bit sloppy. But actually, his fielding has improved from when he first came into the game. But he just went down with one hand and slightly took his eye off it. And
Most impressive bit was the fact he actually went to throw, even though the ball was by his ankle. He was halfway through the throwing motion when he realised he didn't have the ball in his hand.
And he floats ones up outside Dhawan's off stump, and he goes for the big hit down the ground. He pretty much middles it. Almost looked like he might have the lofted hit, but closed the face. And a decent bit of fielding from Wood at mid-on restricts him to a single. That's Kohli on strike. Goes back to cut it well, and this time he does find Rashid, and Rashid fields cleanly, so there's no run.
The 20 over mark was exactly on 100 minutes, which is 5 minutes and over. I'm pretty sure the guidelines say 4.
Another half volley outside off this time to Kohli from Rashid, and that is cut backward of square, sliced away. Kohli still seems a little frustrated with how the ball's coming off the bat, but nevertheless, he has once again found the line.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
So, decent over from India there against Ali. 8 runs from it, that was his first. And after 25, exactly halfway through this ODI innings, they're 117 for 1. Dhawan 55, Kohli 32.
Rocky Biker had said Camino. I'm not quite sure what that was relating to. RK says, great to see the Pandya and Curran brothers next day. Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about sets of brothers. Michael Bedford said, Shikhar Dhawan will be tickety-boo.
Shikhar Dhawan will be tickety-boo?
Shikhar Dhawan will be tickety-boo. And he has been fairly tickety-boo so far. He's been 55 worth of tickety-boo, isn't he? So he's going well.
And Kohli is just being Kohli at the moment. You don't feel like he's dominated the game particularly. He's just been moving the ball around. 32 off 36 in the blinking of an eye. Here's Rashid to Dhawan. Reaches for the ball very wide of off stump, a full leg break, and sweeps it to deep backward square for a single. 118 for 1. Kohli just seems he's
pretty comfortable at the moment, the batsmen. I haven't seen them look in difficulty against any particular ball or any particular bowler.
Absolutely. This is a short ball, a leg break. It doesn't quite come off, and unfortunately, neither does Billings run round the boundary at deep mid-wicket, and Kohli is able to smack it away. It wasn't a great ball. Rashid dragging it down, and there is another 4 to Kohli, who's just cooking now. 36, 121 for 1.
Prettiest of shots, to be honest. But he's sort of he stepped back and sort of dragged it away, didn't he?
He dealt with it, is what he did.
Dealt with it.
Leg break, outside off. Kohli reaches for it. It's still got a slip in, which seems to me a moment of great optimism in Kohli in this current frame of mind. He's able to get a single on the offside. 123 for 1. Rashid was not best pleased with Billings on the line when that ball went for 4. Another very full ball from Rashid is bunted past the diving mid-on. Jason Roy kind of dived over the ball on that occasion, and just at the moment England are looking a touch loose. Dhawan rotates a single, passes the strike back to Kohli. 124 for 1. Kohli says, come on, to himself. Focuses hard, comes down the pitch, and just pushes the ball straight down the ground to Bairstow at long on. 125 for 1.
We were talking about Stokes and his place in the team earlier. I'll give you another question after this ball.
This is the last ball of the over. Fuller, flatter, and Dhawan's cut only finds short third man. So India just picking the runs off that over. Another over goes for 8, 2 in a row. And after 26, it's 125 for 1.
Or maybe I will let Tony read some tweets.
I'll just say hello to Farong, who's said afternoon from a scorching Dhaka. Bring on the monsoon season. Cheers, Farong, who kindly contributed to our little look forward to Bangladesh's tour of Sri Lanka, being our man on the spot.
The other person I wanted to talk about was Moeen. I think people forget that a couple of years distance that he was dropped during the England World Cup run, and England won the last few games, the important group games and the semi-final and the final without him. Would you say he's in England's first 11 in this format?
His next over begins, his second, and Kohli just takes the single to mid-wicket, 126 for one.
Horses for courses as regards the type of wicket you're playing on. But,
well, they want two spinners, don't they? I think that they want two spinners who can trouble both edges of the bat. And they really are struggling for an off-spinner who isn't Ali, aren't they? He maintains his round-the-wicket approach to Dhawan, who waits in his crease and plays an almighty heave straight along the ground to Wood at deep mid-on. And there's another single, 127 for one. I mean, who are the other off-spinners if you were absolutely insistent upon having two contrasting spinners?
Well, if you haven't
ball
got,
to Kohli is the third of the over.
If you haven't got a practitioner of any particular skill that's worth his place, then you have to manage without it.
Yes, very true. Kohli, the very picture of focus and concentration, waits for a ball outside off, just opens the face and drops it short third man, comes through for another single, 128 for one.
I mean, I know he's a leggy, but do we think we might see Parkinson at any point? He's floated from bubble to bubble without ever getting close to a look-in.
The one goes for a bigger hit this time. A pull in front of square, but out there on the boundary is a sweeper. So again, just the single, 129 for one.
I mean, if Rashid wasn't available, you wouldn't say, well, you have to have a leg spinner, so we'll pick me or Knuckle to play for England, just because when the ball bounces occasionally, it does turn away from the right-handed batsman.
Might be good for a pub quiz, not necessarily an ODI.
Again, to this last ball of the over, Kohli showing his skill in just waiting for the ball and dropping it with very soft hands behind square on the offside to take a single and keep the strike. Better over that time from Moeen, economy-wise, just 5 singles from it. And after 27 overs, India are 130 for 1, Dhawan 59 and Kohli 41.
Looking very comfortable. As I say, that none of the bowlers seem to be causing them difficulty. And within those bowlers, there's no particular delivery that's, they're finding the gaps with ease, they're finding boundaries quite simply won and over. At this rate, they're heading for a very, very big total. You're looking at, 300 and comfortably plus.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the platform to make 300, and at the moment they look like getting it. So Rashid whirling into another over, his 6th. Kohli lunges down the pitch, but finds the ball just a little dipping short of him, so he defends at the last moment.
356 is the highest on this ground.
What is it?
356, but that's only in 4 ODIs, so it's not a huge sample to talk about.
Yeah. Still the slip. Kohli plays a lovely off drive straight down the ground and will just get the single to the straight man. Strictly, really, because he's not
Which one's the comedian then? Which one's the funny guy?
I think Kohli is the comedian, the way he carries on. But, again, they're just trading in singles now, as they have done for the last 15 balls or so. 131 for 1. Dhawan is on strike and now goes for a slog pull down to deep mid-wicket. Ali gets some hands on it to stop it going all the way. Now, talk us through what happened there, Fred. Was they all seem a bit annoyed about that? Was that a chance?
I'm not sure of the route that Moeen took to that ball. It's possible he didn't pick it up all that well, but it bounced. Oh, no, it was a quite comfortable drop.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah. Chest height. He was running to his right, and it came to him at a good height, and he's put down a fairly straightforward outfield catch.
We had a funny camera angle there, but I'm afraid you're right. That is a regulation drop by Ali off Rashid, and Dhawan has had a life on 59. And we're just looking at that again. Yes, I'm afraid that's a bit of a shocker. Big chance goes begging. He did get the single, and now Kohli has taken a single to get Dhawan back on strike, and Rashid is very disappointed, and Moeen looks as guilty as a child with his hand in the sweetie tin. Dhawan goes for a safer pull this time. Low pull across his body, straight into the ground, jogs a single to square leg.
I mean, to be honest, if he had his hand in the sweetie tin, it might have been sticky enough to cling onto the catch, but but there you go.
Yes, England's fielders' hands under Vaughan were known for jelly baby stickiness, weren't they?
Rashid bowls to Kohli, who waits for the ball very patiently, just plays a soft-handed defensive, only a couple of yards in front of him, and a brilliantly run single. Now 5 consecutive singles off that over from Rashid, who's bowled 6 overs now for 34, and India are 135 for 1. So big moment. Dhawan dropped by Ali. England have been a bit pointless in the field for the last 2 or 3 overs.
Well, the thing about Rashid showed his displeasure. He wasn't stiff upper lip about that drop catch, but I think people underestimate that catches on the boundaries of slow bowlers are not some kind of added bonus if there's a man out there. You actually bowl to get people caught out on the boundary. It's not, if somebody takes a wicket out there, it's not a case of the bowler's being lucky. That's what you're bowling for. And when a regulation catch goes down like that, it's understandable that the bowler shows a little bit of displeasure, although we'd all prefer it if you just sort of gave a little clap in his direction and said chin up, but it's not going to happen, is it?
No, not under this pressure. But he wasn't angry.
No,
he just showed his disappointment and frustration. Kohli on 44 to face Moeen, starting his 3rd over. And straight away, drills the ball, it's misfielded, it's going to be 4. Oh, this isn't a shocker. England have totally switched off in the field in the last 10 minutes or so. This was Ben Stokes at mid-off. They weren't even going to take the single, and it just went straight through him along the ground, and Kohli has got 4.
He was worrying about picking the ball up and trying it at stumps before he actually did the business of picking the ball up. He sensed a run out, and that's what caused him to misfield, I think.
Next ball is straight on Kohli's pads and flipped square on the leg side for a single. Brings him to 49, 139 for 1. But I think Stokes was imagining it almost. I mean, you say he sensed the run out, but the batsman hadn't come down the pitch at all. They were just staying where they were. So I don't know where he got the intuition from.
It was one of those where you think, there might be a chance of getting something here, and you have to concentrate on actually picking up the ball. That's what I've always been told. It has to work, though.
No, but you were told the right thing.
Yes.
England looking pretty down just at the moment. Dhawan on 68 just steps to leg and plays the most wonderful imperious shot, a lofted extra cover drive to a full ball, and it goes all the way over the line.
That was all timing. He didn't even try and hit it hard. He just lifted it up over extra cover, wide bit off. It's just beautiful timing, and it carried all the way.
It's a cliche to say rubbing salt into the wound now, but they really are. And this ball is just speared down the leg side, and it's going to be another boundary, 4 this time, as Dhawan gets the requisite tickle on it. And now Moeen's 4 balls in his 3rd over have gone for 15.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm sure all the Moeen apologists are already furiously tweeting that it's because he's been messed about all winter and he hasn't had any games. How do you expect him to come in and bowl in an ODI for Kohli and Dhawan? But that's the job of an international cricketer, I'm afraid.
This time, Dhawan looks for the single, dropping the ball into the onside. It's sent back sensibly, I think, by Kohli. You can't say England haven't had their chances. Dhawan was dropped at point by Roy on 16 and dropped at a very difficult one. But then a much easier chance to Moeen Ali at deep mid wicket on 59. There is a misfield to this drive off the back foot by Bairstow at cover, but it hasn't conceded a run. And a rather forlorn-looking Moeen Ali takes his cap from the umpire. I expect that's the last we'll see of him for the time being. 29 gone, 150 for one. Kohli,
do you sense that,
one short of his half-century.
You do sense that, like prowling lions, these two have marked Moeen Ali down as the wounded buffalo that they want to bring down and chase after, haven't they?
Well, to be fair, England have at least got. They don't have to bowl him. You know, they've got 6 frontline bowlers, and that's one thing I will say that England have done very well since 2 World Cups ago, when they went in with 5 bowlers and were always struggling towards the end of an innings when somebody had a bad day. They always go in with 6 bowlers, and you pretty much have to. Even though India didn't in the recent T20 series, which they
law of averages, someone will have an off day or get chased by the batsman.
Fred doesn't believe in averages.
You give yourself options.
Yeah.
Right, Kohli on 49 is going to bring up his 50 off the very first ball of the 30th over, just by playing that signature shot, pushing it through the covers for a single. 50 at even time with 6 boundaries and completely chanceless to boot. 151 for one.
Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, your 50 runs. The job is only just...
Rashid to Dhawan, waits for the ball, just tickles it away off his pads for a strolled single. It's Butler, the keeper himself, who has to do the fielding. 152 for one. Is there any sense more inevitable than a Kohli century here? I know I said I felt Dhawan could get one, but he has been dropped twice. I wouldn't be surprised if Dhawan get one, but I would be surprised if Kohli didn't.
Well, considering he hasn't got one for about a year and a half,
I think today's the day, Fred.
Law of averages?
You don't believe in averages. We've established that.
I'm asking you.
The floaty ball up on middle stump, nice and full, and Kohli just bumps it straight on the onside for a single. They're just happy to rotate the strike at the moment, as well they might be, in the 30th over with a great platform. 153 for one. They're going to do what Not Fred told you they were going to do, which is play this as a 2020 with 30 gone. Another slug sweep from Dhawan. Over leg side, over square leg, and 2 bounces into the boundary boards for 4.
The GPL should still be open, am I right there? Is the GPL still open? Therefore, if you think India are going to pile on the runs in the last 20, then it's a good time to pile in to the GPL. Go to the website and you'll find all the details. It's a pound ago, you guess, you could win the pot. And what is the pot at there?
Shorter ball from Rashid this time, and it's swept out to the culpable alley. Deep forward square, just the single this time. 158 for one.
The GPL was open till 10, Tone, so it's closed. But we had 9 entries, ranging from 497 up to 631, which could be short.
Last ball of the over. Quicker one this time from Rashid to Kohli. They race through for a single, and they make it safely. Kohli 52 to 177 at the end of the 30th. India 159 for one. It's all been about India. Just the 2 chances so far. Wicket of Sharma was the 1 wicket to fall to the bowling of Stokes. 2 chances dropped. Dhawan has made it to 76. Haven't seen much of the Rashid Googly. And for the time being, you won't see much of me because we're at the 30 over changeover. And after a few words from Tony with the tweets, Fred will be taken over ball by ball.
Well, I'll just quickly say, Warren, these two looking very set. Tweeters curse. And then I'll let Hendo pick up from there for wrong being the next message.
I think it's wonderful what Not Fred is doing for the economy. Because apparently, as soon as he comes on, everyone goes out shopping. What's going on, Fred?
Well, in different countries, so I'm not doing much of the economy here. I would like to thank Tony and the pretty average Cato for that spell, as we welcome Hendo and also Jason back into their respective seats of glory. 30 overs have gone. India 159 for one. And England looking very flat with the ball and even flatter in the field at the moment.
I think it's a good time to bring back Mark Wood. I mean, he bowled pretty well this morning. He was unlucky towards the end of the last couple of overs that he bowled. He got hit for 2 or 3 boundaries, but he was right on the money. Could have had a couple of wickets. England will feel a little bit, I think, frustrated they didn't get those wickets, and maybe the morale has been sapped a little bit from them.
Well, Jason is yet to appear, so I'm going to take over his slot for the time being.
Okay, as Wood's first ball of his latest spell to Virat Kohli, it's a good ball on off stump, and Kohli just defends. We haven't seen many defensive shots in the last few overs, but Wood has induced one first up.
Let's have a jingle for the new bowler. Do you know Mark Wood?
Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick.
So just a normal guy.
Of course, except for just one thing.
What?
He thinks that he's a horse.
Right. What?
And if you do think that he's a horse and you like Mark Wood, go to our T-shirt emporium and you can buy a T-shirt emblazoned with that image. As the next ball from Wood is again good ball on off stump and again defended by Kohli. He's having a look at him.
I'm told we've got a new listener on YouTube. I can't tell who that is, but whoever you are, welcome, because I haven't got YouTube up. I've got enough things on my computer. And I'm also trying to write a story for later on. It's an interesting story. You might have heard about it. I don't know, about Matty Parkinson's tweets. Have you heard about this?
No, explain.
No spoilers.
All right, no spoilers. I'll read it later.
On Gorilla Cricket.
Indeed.
.com. Is it .com? Yes, I think
it is .com, yes.
We are a .com, yes.
Without the bubble. As Wood bowls a little shorter and Kohli just works this down to third man, where Rashid fields, single to Kohli, so some measure of control perhaps back in the England bowling. Only 1 run off the first 3 balls of the third over.
Did we have the tweet from Farong saying greetings from a hot and balmy Dhaka?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did. We've had that one. Okay, well, I'll move on to Chris the Quiet. I don't quite understand your tweet, but I will read it out in a minute.
In the spirit of Tony, you're about to say, I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to read it anyway. 160 for 1. Shikhar Dhawan on 77 is facing up to England's strike bowler in this game, Mark Wood. He's coming round the wicket. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls, and this has just dropped into the offside. Kohli comes some distance. There is a shy at the stumps, and for once, England's fielding is competent. In other words, it doesn't hit the stump and go off for 4 overthrows or missed by the backup man. So it's a dot ball.
Chris Squire says, I knew that a Frood could be hoopy, but not that a dude could be Froody. Apparently May the 25th is World Towel Day. Does anyone understand that in the context of what's been going on before?
No, I don't know what Froody means.
Me neither. Hafiz Shakil Ahmad has been in touch as well. He says England's ground fielding not up to mark. They dropped 2 very important catches. Catches win matches, bro.